Hi everyone, it's Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing this technique called Joseph's Coat Technique, and it's a really fun one that you can do with pretty much any dye ink. I'm going to be using distress inks today, and I'm also going to be using this wave stencil later on. So we're going to start off with a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I'm just going to start off with my lightest color, which is the Scattered Straw. Now, for this technique, you just put down random color. You don't have to put this in any particular order or any way. You don't need to really do that. If you want to, obviously you can. But for how neat this works is that it's just one of those random techniques that once you're done, it looks good with all the randomness that you applied to your cardstock. It's almost like creating a galaxy, or not a galaxy, yeah, a galaxy background. It kind of starts off looking kind of like a hot mess, but in the end, it really does work out, and it turns out to be a beautiful background. So we're going to start off with the Scattered Straw, and then I'm going to go in with my next color, which is the Worn Lipstick. I'm going to get my ink blending tool really primed here. This is the first time that I've used this actual sponge. Obviously not the color, but the sponge itself. So it will look kind of a little splotchy, but like I said, it does not matter for this technique because for one, I'm using really good watercolor cardstock here for this technique. And two, these distress inks really do soak into the paper well, and they will even out over time. But so you're just going to apply ink all over your cardstock here, like I said, randomly, and you can just have fun with it. And so the next color I'm going to apply is my Peacock Feathers. And as I'm going to blend in some of this onto some of the yellow, it kind of creates a green color, which is kind of neat because it looks like I used 4 colors instead of just 3. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of filling in the holes with my last color here, which is the Peacock Feathers. It's a more prominent of all of the 3 colors. I feel I kind of went a little bit light-handed because you can go a little bit overboard with the Peacock Feathers. But with what I'm doing here, it won't matter at all on actually the saturation because it's going to be muted down eventually anyway. So I've got all of my area covered here, and so now I'm going to take my distress sprayer and to spritz this with water and kind of give it a little bit more of a distressed background. So I'm going to let my water soak into the paper for a few seconds and just kind of wipe that up with my paper towel, and you can see how it leaves that fun distressed look that it leaves behind. Now I'm going to take my stencil here. This is from Simon Says Stamp. This is their wave stencil. And I'm just going to take this onto my work surface here. So because it is such an intricate stencil, I'm going to take my Versamark here, and I'm going to really apply a lot of pressure onto, I'm taking this ink pad directly to my stencil and making sure that I'm covering the whole entire portion of this cardstock panel. I want to make sure that I get this really good and covered because eventually the next step, what we're going to do is cover this with clear embossing powder. And I want to make sure that that whole entire pattern is covered all over my cardstock here. So you will see as I'm starting to apply this, you can see how that pattern comes through. And then once we heat set this, you really can't tell until you can kind of put it into the light. You see how shiny that is? The next step we're going to do is take our black soot distress ink, and this is going to mute down the colors just a little bit, but that's what makes this technique so fun, and it kind of creates a different look. And so once we apply this onto our cardstock here, it's going to resist that pattern that we embossed, and it's going to leave behind the brighter colors where the embossing powder was not applied or not heat set. So you can see how it resists that ink. Like I said, it does mute down the colors. So if you want bright colors, you probably wouldn't like this too much. I mean, I'm sure you could achieve it still, but the colors won't be as bright because obviously you're applying a darker color on top of everything else. So I'm going to get this really good and covered, and then I'm going to take my paper towel and really buff off the excess embossing powder or distress ink off of that embossing, and it leaves behind this really pretty pattern, and it leaves behind all of these really pretty colors that we applied in the beginning. And that's what they call the Joseph's Coat technique. There's many different ways you can do this technique. So I would, if you want to see other examples, you can definitely get on YouTube or Google and just Google this technique, and it'll show you some more examples. So for the rest of the card, I'm going to take this sentiment stamp set from W+9. This is called That Is All. It's one of my favorites, and this is the first time that I'm going to be using this set with its coordinating dies. I had bought the dies previous, and I just hadn't used the dies yet, so I thought it would be a good day to get them out and use them today. And I also have this heart that these little die cuts are from my stash from other projects. The coloring I did not show because it was during a 30-day color challenge, and it was just left over from all of my coloring that I did during that challenge. So I thought I would get some of these colored pieces out today and also use them on my card. So I thought the little kitty was really appropriate for this card because the stripes reminded me of the little stripes on his body. So I thought it kind of all tied in together really nicely. So I'm taking this heart, which was die cut from a Sunny Studio die set, and I'm just going to apply some little foam dots here. And these little foam dots come from Stampin' Up. They do still sell these, and they're really great for if you don't want a whole lot of dimension on your card, but you do want it popped up just a bit. And they're small enough to add to die cuts like this. So I'm going to apply this in the middle. And for the pattern, just so you know, I did emboss this with an embossing folder to give it some texture. And then, so I'm going to apply my sentiment here, this little strip I just cut out with my scissors to give it a little bit of a different way to apply my sentiment. And then, of course, I die cut the perfect sentiment from its coordinating die. I'm going to adhere this stick on that heart there, right in the middle. I'm going to take my mono glue here and just add some glue right in the middle of that, and then apply that. And then some of the edges are going to hang off the heart, which I intended for it to do so. And I'm going to take one of my little foam dots here, pop dots, and I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm taking my scissors. As Christina Werner used to say, it's like card surgery. It kind of is, I guess. So I'm just kind of carefully taking my scissors here and helping me put that right underneath my sentiment where it hangs off. That way it won't buckle if I put this through the mail. So I'm going to add some little bit more foam dots to my little critter here. I think he's so cute. And then I'm going to take off those paper backings to add him to my heart. And I really do think it all kind of ties together. He's really, really cute. And then for a final touch, I think I'm going to add some enamel dots, and just for my stash. And I just found some that kind of go with the colors that I already had on my card. And that will complete for today's card, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this look at this technique. It's really fun. If you've never tried it, please give it a try. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I invite you to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you on my next video. Bye-bye.